Welcome back to another edition of From Beyond Champaign. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Cody_CHGO. Welcome back, guys. It's day 2 of player previews for the 2024 season. And as you can see on the screen tonight is none other than Kylan Boswell. So we're going to talk a lot about Kylan Boswell tonight. Got a few clips from some other outlets that they got from Big Ten Media Days. And I was even watching some stuff from Illinois Media Days. Yeah, we'll play some stuff. We'll discuss a lot of things related to on the court and off the court. I'll just start by saying that I'm very intrigued about the possibility of a breakout season for Kylan Boswell. And to be honest with you, of all the questions this team has coming into this season, I feel most confident about Kylan Boswell going into the 2024 season for Illinois. One of the few vets on this team. I feel like if this guy breaks out, takes that next step, he can be, I wouldn't say X factor, but a guy that, can perhaps help get Illinois get to a second weekend. So we're going to talk a ton about him. But first, for the few people here, hit that like button on YouTube. Would appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. Recently went over 500 subscribers here on the YouTube channel, so I appreciate you all. And the regular season's right around the corner. I know a lot of you are probably riding a high that Illinois football has given us, but listen, imagine having that high along with basketball season. All right. That's where I'm at. I'm always pretty much a fair weather Illinois football fan and hop on the wagon when things are going well, which doesn't happen very often, but I'm diehard for this basketball program. So ride this high because everything feels incredible for Illinois athletics. I mean, honestly, since the tournament started back in March, there's been nothing but good vibes for Illinois basketball. And then the football team has just been, a great, should I say surprise? Like, again, I never thought I would witness Illinois beat Michigan. That's all I can say about that. But anyway, let's get into Kylan Boswell. And again, thank you all for your support and continued support. Kylan Boswell averaged, it's junior year. He's entering his junior year. He transferred from Arizona. A couple Pac-12 teams coming over to the Big Ten now, and he has experience against those guys. So that will be interesting to see how he plays against those schools compared to the Big Ten. His freshman year, he only played around 15 minutes per game, increased to 26 minutes per game in year 2. His 3-point attempts increased between his freshman and sophomore year. Is that because he got more minutes? Probably. Field goal percentage slightly lower last year compared to his freshman season. Same thing with his 3-point percentage too, but more volume in year 2, I would say. Free throw percentage about an 80% shooter. So let's start with the fact that he is the hometown kid, right? He's a hometown kid. Illinois originally recruited him. He decided to go to Arizona. He enters a transfer portal, and he decides to come back to Champaign. I have a clip here of him talking about his recruitment. And listen, whenever he transferred to Illinois, him at Big Ten Media Days is like the first time he really spoke publicly about his recruitment, at least that I had seen. So let's go over that clip right now. Well, which one is it? Here it is.
Honestly, I was just very open to
This from
schools that
MB.
kind of felt like they wanted me. Illinois was definitely a program that was top of my list. And like I said, though, immediately when I hit the portal, Coach Underwood and Coach Alexander were right on top of it from the jump. And to me, it was kind of crazy to see how much love they still have for me. And then after I talked to them, a couple phone calls, I just knew that was the program for me.
Was that unexpected? Did you think you would necessarily hear from them after you denied them a couple years ago?
Honestly, watching them in the Elite Eight, I was like, man, hopefully they still want me. And literally, when I mean the moment I answered that portal, Coach Alexander was on a phone call. So I was like, yeah, it was kind of crazy for me. Definitely didn't expect it, but I really appreciated it.
Again, that was courtesy of NBC Sports. It's about a 7-minute video on YouTube. You can find it. I just clipped a few things from it I wanted to share for this episode. And so, yeah. Lazy Forrest Gump, welcome to the chat. 109.5 hours until Ole Miss tip-off. He's counting down. I'm there with you, brother. All right. He also says, in his opinion, Bam Bam is the X factor. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So the reason I showed that clip first is because I just think it's really like the trend of this happening, right? Like Terrence Shannon Jr. was also recruited by Illinois, but chose to go to Texas Tech. And then he ends up finding his way back to Illinois because he's from Chicago, wanted to come home. Kylan Boswell, legitimately from Champaign, decides to go to Arizona. He enters a transfer portal, and Illinois reaches out immediately. So, you know, I would just like to point out that anytime a recruit decides to go somewhere else and Illinois recruit them, that doesn't mean that they aren't going to, or it doesn't mean that they'll never come to Illinois, especially in this transfer portal era. I feel like there's a trend here with guys who Illinois recruits who decide to go somewhere else and then end up finding their way to Illinois anyway. All right. And as we've seen with Brad Underwood over the years, they go deep in their transfer portal, right? They adapt with the stage of where college basketball is at. And I appreciate that because some coaches won't. I mean, Tony Bennett for Virginia, who just won a national title less than 5 years ago, just retired because he just doesn't like the state of college basketball, you know? So I just like to throw some appreciation that, like, I think that that's an important thing. You know what I mean? So it's awesome that Kylan wanted to come home. He's got family here. He probably feels as comfortable as he has ever felt being back home in Champaign, and he's going to have family at every home game, I'm sure. And yeah, I think that will certainly help him going into his junior season. So I think that's important, really. And considering a lot of questions with this team in terms of chemistry and stuff, Kylan just being home, there might not be anything that you can point towards it affecting his game on the court, but when you feel good, you play good, right? When you're comfortable, you seemingly aren't overthinking things, you know, like it could be the smallest thing. It might not be anything at all, but I just think him being comfortable and all that could help potentially lead to that huge breakout season here as junior season at Illinois. All right. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that it's going to do much of anything else, but we got a few more quotes. Here's Brad Underwood on Kylan Boswell.
Kylan's a guy that we recruited out of high school. He's from the Champaign-Urbana area. It was home until middle school when he moved out west, but it's just a young man who comes from a winning program, a young man who knows how to compete, how to win. He's found success all along his journey. That's a big part of it, his experience. He's a terrific shooter. I think has an opportunity to be one of the best two-way players in the country in terms of his ability to guard. Terrific shooter, and a guy we're going to count on. He's got 60-plus games of college experience, and we need that leadership.
60-plus games of college experience. I mean, considering how young this team is, this is important. All right. I love how Brad basically is throwing him into the fire in terms of challenging him to become a leader. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily surprising. I'm sure that was discussed whenever they gave him a call when he entered the transfer portal. But it seems like Kylan is accepting the challenge. And, you know, we'll see how it plays out. But the fact that he's a point guard, I really do think he's a lock to start the first game of the year. And I think that he is going to be have a major impact on a lot of things that you might not see in the scorebook. Like, I think that this Illinois team has multiple scores, and not one of them will, or not one of them, and on any given night, someone can go off. And I think Kylan will be a big part in helping getting guys going and stuff like that. And I was watching, there's like a 33-minute video on YouTube of just Kylan Boswell's highlights from last season. And this guy loves to get out in transition. He likes to shoot that transition three. He will pull up from anywhere. He can shoot the three off the dribble. He loves to step back. And he likes the runner, the floater, whatever you want to call it, driving left or right to the basket. That's essentially, I watched about 15 minutes of that 33-minute video. And that's essentially like all it was. And I think that it sums up the type of game that Illinois wants to play. They want to shoot a lot of threes. They want to play fast. And I think he can really gel in this offense. And if he's the one leading the guys down the court with Kasparis, like we talked about yesterday, I mean, it makes you dream a little bit. It really does make you dream a little bit, especially if Kasparis, shines right away. You know what I mean? All right. So Brad was talking about leadership and all that, and I just kind of mentioned that too. Here's Kylan on leadership. This is from NBC Sports.
It's kind of funny saying now, but kind of coming as a junior, as a vet for this team, 2 years with a very elite program, multiple March Madness teams that I've been on. Leadership, that's kind of my thing. As a defender, I've kind of accepted that role and personality in my game. And then my just ability, I feel like, to tell my teammates be better.
I don't know why that ended early, but maybe I clipped it too early. Anyway, I just think the way he talks, it really shows how he is accepting that challenge from Brad Underwood to be a leader. He says that's what he wants to improve upon on top of his defense. And we're going to see how things play out. This is the season for him to really take a step. Brad Underwood thinks he can be one of the best two-way players in the country. All right, let's see it. And I think the type of offense they're going to play and the type of conference that they'll play in, a very tough competition. If he can, do a lot of those things, it will show in the stat sheet. And I really do think that this team will go as he goes. That doesn't necessarily mean that I think he's the best player. I don't think he's the best player, but I do think he is a massive catalyst to this team's success in 2024. So would love to know you guys' thoughts on that, but let me know what you think on that. One thing I did not know until a few days ago is that since Kylan Boswell's got to Illinois, he's lost like 25 pounds. And I don't talk about Coach Fletch very often because it's very well known. Like, the guy is he is a master at forming a body for a basketball player. Kylan Boswell's lost like 25 pounds since he got to Champaign. And I'm intrigued to see how that also helps in his improvement. Sometimes you say, oh, you lose weight, like that doesn't necessarily transform to improvement in your game. But for his position, for the type of, they want to play fast, all these things, I do think that him dropping some weight certainly will help him. And especially with the speed factor. So here's Kylan on his diet.
When I came in to University of Illinois, my first kind of week on campus, Coach Fletch immediately could tell what I needed to cut out of my diet. He made me stop eating carbs and sugar. Ever since then, I've lost like 20 pounds since I've been there. Wow. So yeah, the whole diet change, we call it the Fletch diet. He knows what he's talking about. He can get your body right for sure.
What did he say to you? Did he just look at you, or did he see what you were eating, or what?
It's funny. It's just like he can just tell your body, and he just knows what you need to do to change how you need to look, what will make you feel better on the court. And ever since I, cut out the carbs and sugar for him, my body has been an exceptional change for sure.
What food specifically can you no longer have?
Now, since I've lost the 20 pounds, I'm back on. He's introduced carbs and a little bit of sugar, but
that's like a treat for doing well.
Yeah, everything in moderation is the biggest thing.
I need to get on this guy's diet. Shit. I mean, what? He's been in Champaign. What? It's October. He's been in Champaign since the summer. That's a pretty quick weight loss drop right there. Am I delusional for thinking that? I don't know. All I know, I mean, he makes it sound so easy. Oh, just don't eat carbs and don't eat sugar. I mean, yeah, right. Very it sounds like he's very disciplined, and I think that can show on the court too. So I like a lot of things. I like what Kylan's saying about leadership. I like that he's dropped some weight. I like that he's back home, which gives that comfortability, of just being somewhere where you're so used to being. I just really do think that can, in some aspects, transition to on the court as well. So as you can see here, 16 minutes into this, I'm very high on Kylan Boswell going into 2024. So we talked about leadership, talked about his recruitment a little bit, talked about what Brad has talked about Kylan. I've kind of shared my thoughts. I'm interested in you guys' thoughts about Kylan Boswell and just like, what do you expect from him this year? Let's just, I kind of listed off some of his stats earlier. Last year, he averaged 9.6 points per game. Let's set a line at 13.5. Let's set the line at 13.5. Will he average over under 13.5 points per game? Let me know in the chat, or if you're watching this and it's not live anymore, let me know if you think if he'll average more than 13.5 points per game. In retrospect, he averaged 4.6 points per game in his freshman year. Again, he played 15 minutes per game in that season, 26 minutes per game last year as a sophomore. So if the trend stays up, it'll be right around 13 points per game if he continues to grow. I personally think he will average more than 13.5. Am I setting the line too low? Should I increase the line? Should it be like 15? I don't personally know. So, but I'm gonna set it at 13.5 because there's a lot of scorers on this team. I mean, we just talked about Kasparas yesterday, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out if he's if he deserves to be more hyped up than Ayo Dosunmu was. Okay, I don't remember the last time the Illinois had a one and done that was hyped up like this. Okay, and it's not like Illinois gets one and dones every year. So there's going to be a lot of points to go around, like 13.5, I think is fair. Okay. Yeah, he averaged 3.6 assists last year. He averaged 1.6 assists his freshman year too. So I expect that to go up, especially with how this offense can be run. I expect him to average at least 5 assists a game. I think that goes up a little bit. I think he's going to average. I think he can average 13.5 points per game and 5.5 assists, somewhere in that range. I think that he can legitimately do that. Okay. Let me know your thoughts on those things. All right. Before we get out of here, I'll share one more clip. This is Kylan on what he wants to gain from going to Illinois.
Honestly, just being more disciplined within myself. I feel like Coach Underwood, that's very, very much needed if you're going to play for him. He's the everyday guy type of thing. That's his slogan. And you can tell that from the jump, from the first day of practice. Just honestly, for me, having more discipline for myself is probably my biggest thing.
And so in some of the conversations with Coach Underwood, you're basically like, coach me hard?
Yeah,
is that
for
your
sure.
mindset?
I know what I was coming into, and he told me from the jump, I'm going to need you to be a certain type of player for this team, and I need you to be able to accept my coaching. And I have no problem with how he coaches us, for sure.
As we kind of talked about, he seems very confident in what his abilities and what he wants to do heading into this season. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just being pretty straightforward and to the point on this one, guys. I don't have a lot of questions here. I think yesterday with Kasparas, it's not that I had questions. It's more of like, are my expectations too high or are they too low? I have high expectations for Kylan Boswell, and I expect him to be again, a real catalyst for this Illinois basketball team going into 2024 season. So, all right. I think the one yesterday was around 30 minutes. This one's about 20. This is all I really have. Be back tomorrow. Going to do another player. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on this video. Hit that like button. I appreciate everyone who does that and subscribes. Link in description if you want to listen to the podcast on Spotify. I just got it approved on other platforms as well. I think on Amazon, and I don't know. I'm trying to expand it to other platforms. I'm not used to this all behind the scenes stuff as someone in my full-time job where I just show up and talk, right? So, yeah, appreciate y'all's support. Let me know what you guys think about Kylan Boswell, and appreciate your continued support. I'll see you tomorrow. Let's see. We did a freshman yesterday. We're doing a junior now. Should we go back and do another freshman tomorrow? Perhaps. I'm thinking of freshman tomorrow too. All right. I'll see you all then tomorrow night right here on my YouTube channel. And as always, ILL.